I have lived abroad for over 11 years, and if I could go back to day one, there are some things that I would definitely do completely differently. You see, when I first moved here to Malta, I thought that I had everything figured out. I thought that I was doing things the right way, but the years have shown me that there were things that I definitely got all wrong. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. I hope that it helps anyone that is going through the process of moving, just to make settling down into your new country just that bit much easier. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Isabella. In no particular order, here are some of the things that I did that I regret doing at the start of my stay in Malta. First is not making proper plans for the stuff that I left behind. I moved to Malta about 11 years ago, and I honestly didn't think that I was going to be staying here for a very long time. And so I didn't make any provisions whatsoever for the things that I left behind. So I left all of my clothes, my furniture, everything, my car, I left everything behind. It took me perhaps 2 years to do a few things, but in the end, I had to get rid of stuff. In Nigeria, we don't have storage facility culture. We don't have storage facilities. So I either had to sell my stuff or give them away. In the end, I just gave them away. Okay, I gave them to family, gave them to friends. I sent some of them to the Catholic Church, my clothes. The ones that really hurt me the most were my books. My books were one of my most prized possessions back then. And yeah, honestly, I don't even know what happened to my books right now. I have no idea. My brother got rid of them for me, and I don't know what he did with them. And that's really sad. So I think that if you have time, then you have to think about what you want to do with your stuff before you leave. It would be more economic. So you would be saving yourself money by giving them away rather than storing them somewhere and paying rent for storage. Okay, so take what you need, take what's vital to you, and the rest of them, just sell them or give them away. Another big regret that I have is that I neglected a lot of paperwork. Paperwork when it comes to finances and taxes, stuff like that. I didn't even think about the possibility of opening a bank account here. I knew it was going to happen eventually, but I didn't think about the process, how different it would be, or whether I wanted to keep using my bank account back at home or not. There are several reasons why you might not want to keep it open. I didn't even consider the possibility of exchange rates and whether I would want to receive my salary back at home or here in Malta, or whether there was a kind of agreement tax-wise between my country and Malta. So some countries have an agreement tax-wise where you don't have to be double taxed, right? So you're not paying taxes here and you're paying taxes over there. So I didn't even think about any of those things. I didn't do my research properly, and I kind of suffered for that. So what happened as a result was I lost access to my bank account back at home because I was receiving my salary here. And at some point, I had to do paperwork from zero to declare that I was an expatriate. So I lived abroad, and it was a hassle. Trust me, it was a hassle. But thankfully, the banking system in Nigeria is great. Trust me when I say it's great compared to the banking system in many European countries, Malta and Italy included, because I've dealt with those two countries, perhaps because the population is so high. They have to deal with so many complaints, and they have to deal with them swiftly. So I was able to do that online, but it took me a really long time. And this is something I could have gotten done before I left. And perhaps it would have taken me a week rather than months. So, the next regret that I have is what I call the comparison trap. At the beginning, I spent so much time comparing my home country to my new country, and honestly, it was exhausting. Like, I couldn't get over the fact that the food was just completely different, especially the taste coming from Africa, where fruits and vegetables are mostly organic, and the taste is just like, really powerful compared to what I came here to find. In Europe in general, the taste of fruits and vegetables are not really much to write home about. And that took me up for a loop, really. And I was so disappointed. Another area that I compared was fashion. You know, it took me a while to realize that I seemed like I was just cosplaying, or I was pretending to be who I was not, because the fashion sense was completely different. The style was completely different. And the whole rush to buy new stuff and to stock up your, with the latest trend and all of those things were things that I was just not used to. And that made me kind of judgy as well. But it wasn't until I stopped fighting the system and I stopped fighting my new home, or trying to compare it back to home, or trying um, to find similarities or too many differences for that matter. It wasn't until I stopped doing that that I actually started enjoying my time here. Then there's human interaction, right? This is another way that I compared home to here. So the social cues are obviously very different. And the way to be polite or the way to just act around people, you know, my first encounter with Maltese people interacting with each other was it was kind of shocking for me, because I thought that they were having a fight, and over time I noticed this more and more among people. Like, people would shout at each other. You know, they meet each other, and the first thing they would say was "all right." You know, I said kind of, loud like that, like "all right," and then the next person would say "all right," and they would go at each other. And I used to think, oh my god, why is everybody fighting? Why is everyone shouting? Even neighbors, shouting across the balconies to each other. But it didn't take me too long to realize that it was just the nature of the language, and it was just how the people were here. They were super passionate. They're super passionate when they express themselves, and they are not afraid to express themselves. And they're not rude per se. They're raw, they're real, and they will just say it as it is. And many times they're just having a simple conversation. And that's also because I started to understand bits and pieces of the language, and that really opened the door to me understanding who the people really were, who the Maltese people really are, and to appreciate them for the way they are. Next is, I didn't think about investments. So if I wanted to invest, did I want to invest back at home, or did I want to invest here? Now, this is not something to rush into, obviously, but it's something to keep in the back of your mind. If you intend to go back home, where do you want to make your investments? Where do you want to save your money? It is important to save. If you're moving in your 30s, in your 40s, you probably already have some investments, probably, hopefully. And you need to think about what you want to do with them. If you want to keep them over there, if you want to transfer them to the current country where you're living. Another thing that I regret not doing is not finding local support. I moved here with my husband, so that was already good. So I didn't experience the shock of being alone from the beginning. I had someone. However, he had to go to work and I wasn't working at the time. And it was depressing for me, as I imagine it would be for many people. It was rather lonely. And as soon as I was able to start making friends, I tried to make friends, either people who were from my country or other expats like me, other foreigners like me, because I felt that they would have the same mindset, a similar mindset. They would understand where I was coming from, and we would click better. Obviously, it didn't help very much when I had to navigate certain aspects of the society, like navigate government offices, bureaucracy, and things like that. It really does pay if you know someone local, if you know someone that could give you good advice. For example, in getting my job, if I hadn't had local support, I don't know if I would be doing the job I'm doing now, or if I would still remain in this country. It was as a result of having someone on my side that was Maltese that was able to get my teaching license. Okay. Now, it's not like there wasn't any corruption involved. Okay. She just backed me up on something legal and something that I had a right to, but I was being told that I didn't have a right to. Okay, it's a whole long story. Another aspect is in getting a home. We took out a mortgage to buy our home, and the process normally would have taken way longer for foreigners than it did for us. But because we had local backing, it was fast tracked, and I'm so grateful for that. But at the start, we struggled. First, we struggled to find a place, we struggled to sign the deal. Sometimes they would give you one price, and then the next day they would change the price. And it was actually through the same lady that supported me with my job that we were able to get other links, like links to the right notary, links to a lawyer, links to an architect, and that helped smooth things. People are always willing to help if you ask for help. And then finally, what I regret not doing is not having researched properly about the culture, the customs of the place. There are a lot of things that would have made much more sense to me had I only done a little bit more of research, or even while I was here in Malta, just asked questions. I met a lot of Maltese people, and it was just, oh, okay, hi, I'm Maltese, you're Maltese, you speak English, and I speak English, and yay, yay, yay. And I would probably ask only the surface questions, like where is the best place to go, or where are the best restaurants. I didn't dig in any deeper, and I regret not doing that because I think that I lost the opportunity to form deeper connections with people, friendships perhaps, because now that I am doing that, I can see that people are more open to me. Maltese people are more open to me, and they're excited to talk to me. And I think if only more foreigners would ask more deeper questions, they might be more accepted by the Maltese people. Because right now, there is an issue with foreigners in Malta, between foreigners and Maltese. There's a kind of tension there. And I get where the Maltese are coming from. I get where they're coming from. People are not trying to be curious about the customs and traditions and norms and the social rules and the culture, the history, the language. People are not curious enough. And rightfully, Maltese people are not having that. So now I ask more questions. Now I ask questions like, what happens in a Maltese wedding, or what happens when you have a baby? The things that you might not think are important, but everyone holds the traditions dear, and we have to respect that if we're in a new country. Now we belong to two places, kind of in limbo, not fully. We have one leg in a new country and another leg back at home. It can also reduce the risk of being scammed. It can reduce the risk of being ostracized or discriminated against. So while these are my personal regrets, I've noticed a pattern in almost everyone around me who's moved abroad, especially recently. And in my next video, I'm breaking down the 5 crucial mistakes that 85% of people make when they first move abroad. So I will see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.